Alert day through tonight with these scattered showers and storms, plus the latest on future Imelda and its possible impacts here to the Carolinas. That includes the Triad and the coastline. But first, I want to start out with this alert day for today, with rain off and on heavy at times, flooding being a potential concern within these showers and storms. What I need you to do, make sure you have the rain gear with you before you head anywhere tonight, as these storms continue to kind of make their way in and trek in from our west. This is all due to a big low pressure system that's situated across the southeast. And no, it does not have anything to do currently with the tropical moisture that's offshore in association with those tropical systems. This is a different system entirely. A closer look at the rainfall we're seeing right now, with storms that look like they've actually been weakening over the last hour or so, starting to push now into parts of Yadkin County, also toward Mount Airy and through Wilkesboro currently. And I'm going to kind of zoom in here, and I have my computer so I can do some real-time tracking with you guys on these storms. Nothing severe in our area, but these storms still are pretty strong and across the area. I'm going to put it in the middle of the screen so you can see that just a little bit better. And these track of storms here, this cluster of thunderstorms, is continuing to push east at around 20 miles per hour. With that being said, maybe you're wondering when it is going to come to your area. Again, most of this is continuing to kind of weaken, so I'm hoping in the next hour or so it will have been maybe just a couple of showers and not so much storm chances. But over in the top right portion of your screen, Mount Airy, 7:04 here in the next couple of minutes. You're probably already hearing thunder, seeing that storm roll in. Yadkinville around 7:30, same thing for Siloam. Forbush around 7:42, and if it holds together, King, you'll be seeing these showers at around 8 o'clock into this evening. Again, these clusters of thunderstorms, that's really the most that we're seeing right now across the region. Majority of us are actually dry for now across the Piedmont Triad. But again, don't let your guard down just yet. Just have the rain gear with you. And if you're out and about, remember that the main threats within these storms are going to be that they're locally heavy. They're bringing in that flash flooding concern. Watch for ponding alongside the roads. Make sure you're taking it nice and slow if you're in a storm, and do not attempt to drive, please, on any flooded roadways. Very serious situation there. And we are continuing to track, obviously, the storms with that flash flooding concern in our area. We are in a level 1 out of 4. What does that mean compared to level 2? Well, we're in the green, and that means that isolated flash flooding is going to be possible. More toward our east, toward the coastline, they have a higher threat. That means there's a higher confidence that some of these storms could be more widespread in producing flash flood warnings. So that is a bigger threat to them out toward the coastline. For what we've seen over the last couple of days, rainfall yesterday, a couple hundredths of an inch over toward Greensboro, almost a tenth of an inch in Burlington, reaching up to around a quarter of an inch in Siler City over toward Raleigh too, and a couple hundredths of an inch in Pinehurst over there in Southern Pines, 0.02 here in Statesville. Now, as for what we've seen so far today, well, we're starting to see more, obviously, with that line of showers and storms slowly approaching the western part of the Piedmont, moving into Yadkin County, into Surry County as we speak. But in Greensboro itself, we've seen 0.61 inches of rainfall, much needed after several weeks that we've had of not seeing much, if anything at all. And with that being said, I'm actually going to show you guys the drought map real quick while I have you here, just to give you kind of some background on why it's so important that this rainfall came at the time that it did. I mean, we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks really dry conditions, so much so that in the latest drought map that was released this past Thursday, we're in a D1 level 2 across our area. What that means, abnormally dry conditions have expanded all across North Carolina, but especially for us here in the Piedmont, and especially for northernmost counties that have also gotten some pretty decent rain over the last couple of days. And of course, we'll have more rain chances into early next week with that tropical system that we'll talk about in just a moment, future Imelda. Going over to our quad cam to give you a peek at the skies across the region. You could see far off in the distance, especially on our Winston-Salem, Burlington, and High Point cam, Greensboro is frozen. Don't pay any attention to her. We are seeing those storms way off in the distance for High Point, Burlington and in Winston-Salem, but certainly a lot more clear in those areas versus out toward western parts of the Piedmont. Temps right now mid to upper 70s, a little bit cooler in High Point, 73, 75 currently in Greensboro, 76 in Burlington, 77 in Winston-Salem. Over the next couple of hours, we are still going to be seeing those storm chances until around midnight or so, and then we're going to be really starting to die down with those chances tapering off. We're going to be back in the low to mid 60s waking up tomorrow morning. Then in the afternoon, mid to upper 70s plus more sunshine, perhaps a stray shower or two into the day Sunday, but again, not nearly as widespread amounts of rainfall as we've seen throughout the day today. But the rain chances being very low, that's going to be short-lived again for our area, again, as we continue to track the tropics. And with that being said, we'll get right over to the tropics. If I can scroll, there we go. And I'm going to show you these two different systems that are currently influencing one another, more so Umberto over Tropical Depression 9 that we continue to track now. Just over the last several days. Here's a kind of a look at where these two are situated. Umberto, not going to be a threat to land, but a very powerful Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of around 160 miles per hour. Tropical Depression 9, you can see really not organized at all, but it is expected to become more organized as it continues to kind of push toward the northwest. It is moving very, very slowly, and the lack of an organization really tells me that Umberto is kind of stealing the show over here, taking that moisture and also continuing to kind of influence how quickly this storm is organizing and how quickly it's also moving. So the latest here on Tropical Depression 9, winds are sustained at 35 miles per hour, closest to Cuba, around the 200 miles northwest of the eastern tip, but it's only moving northwest at around 5 miles per hour. You saw how disorganized that system was versus, take a look at this system right behind me. This is a very powerful textbook hurricane that we're tracking right now from Umberto, with winds sustained again at 160 miles per hour. This is a textbook type, well-defined eye, and you can just see how powerful those inner rain bands are too. It undergoes what's called an eye wall replacement cycle when it can't maintain that strength anymore, and it almost has to weaken a bit so it can strengthen even more. And this is just a massive monster of a hurricane. The good news is this system is not going to impact us, and it's not really going to impact land either. Here's the latest track of Hurricane Umberto. Still going to be a major hurricane stepping into early next week, but its path is going to influence future Imelda. Not going to be a threat to land, but as of the 5 p.m. advisory, it is continuing to move west-northwest at around 10 miles per hour. A very strong and intense hurricane. It's nice to watch it from afar, but certainly would not want it here or along our coastline. In regards to how it is going to influence Tropical Depression 9, well, we've seen just in the last 24 to 48 hours big changes in where this storm could go. Yesterday, or yesterday morning, whenever I was here and I was on air, I was thinking, watching the models, it was a little bit scary looking because most of them actually took it into portions of the Carolina coastline. Most of those models took it right into the Carolinas, and just in the last 24 hours, it has completely flip-flopped, and now most of the models take it well out to sea and well out to the east. If this holds true, impacts for us are going to be much more minimal than we expected. Main impacts are going to be along the coastline with storm surge, coastal erosion, rip currents, and also tropical storm force winds. We are continuing to see a strengthening trend with Imelda, where it could be a strong tropical storm or even a Category 1 hurricane stepping into Tuesday. For us here in the Triad, we'd be seeing rain as early as late Monday night, but more so into Tuesday and Wednesday for our weather impact alert days. It'd be much higher impacts, of course, right along the coastline. And of course, what I do want to note, when you see the cone and you don't see yourself within the cone, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are in the clear. Ben and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but the cone represents where exactly the center of the storm could go. The cone does not represent where the impacts could be. So the impacts can be well outside of this cone. This just represents where the center of the storm could go. So the center could be as close as here, following the coastline up up right over here. If it follows true and goes middle, we're still going to be seeing rain for our area in the Piedmont Triad, but higher impacts, of course, will be on the coastline. Here is a closer look at some of those models just in the last couple of hours. This has been kind of run, and there are only a couple that take it out toward us here into the Carolinas now. This was kind of flip-flop just yesterday. Most of them take it offshore and away from the area heading into early next week. So that is some good news. This is a trend that I'm excited about and I want to see come to fruition. But of course, you know, we can't completely deny that there are still some models that want to take it into our coastline. And with that being said, you know, don't let your guard down just yet. But, you know, just so you know, it is good news that, of course, these models are continuing to show that we'll likely see this head out to sea. So what exactly happened between, you know, a couple of days ago where we thought, probably going to be moving into the southeast and impacting the Carolinas a little bit more directly versus now when it's being pulled out to sea? Well, a couple of days ago, we expected that low pressure right behind me was going to play a little bit more of a dominant force in the forecast. And what I mean by that is this counterclockwise rotation, we expected to influence the storm a bit more than models now project. The storm could have been steered a little bit more into the Carolinas, which is what we were hinting at the last couple of days. Piedmont impacts would have been more widespread with more heavy rainfall, more gusty winds, and of course, even the potential tornado threat versus now we're currently seeing the next possible track, which is looking like the scenario that is likely going to happen. Over here, Umberto is actually playing a much bigger role than you might assume. This storm can actually help to usher in and steer Imelda out to sea heading into early next week, just from how powerful this storm is. And our impacts as a result would be much lower than if the storm actually moved into the Carolinas. The wind, you wouldn't have to worry about as much. Maybe see a couple of breezes, 20-25 miles per hour, a bit breezy, but not anything like tropical storm force like the coast would get. Rainfall, maybe a couple of inches, and don't have to worry about that tornado threat. So much lower threats for us here in the Piedmont if this system continues to hold true to the models that show that the track will take it east. So this is what we do know. Again, the system is taking longer to develop. It's moving very, very slowly, and we're working to still nail down a timeline of what you can expect, when you can expect it, and into early next week. But for now, Tuesday and Wednesday really are the days that we're watching. Most models continue to keep it offshore. Stalling offshore, how long it is going to do so will also play a role in how much rainfall not only we get, but also the coastline. So make sure you're paying attention to the forecast. Flooding is still going to be the biggest concern heading into Tuesday and into Wednesday of next week. Rain potential over the next 7 days. You could see the highest amounts obviously going to be well along our coastline. This is very, very high amounts, very scary amounts, I would say, honestly, up to around 10 inches. If the storm stalls across the area, even higher amounts are going to be possible. Really, it's just going to depend on how long that system stalls off of our coast. For us here in the Triad, really up to around 2 to 4 inches going to be possible. 1 to 3 listed here from our Weather Prediction Center. But again, higher amounts, higher impacts are going to be more situated along our coastline. A look at what future wind gusts will look like across the region. Not really seeing much until the day on Tuesday when the system actually begins to approach the coastline of the Carolinas. You can see the highest amounts really along the coast between 30 to 40 miles per hour as the depression continues to move up the coastline along the southeast. In the Triad, we're going to be in that 20 to 30 mile per hour range, and I think we'll kind of stay there into Tuesday afternoon and into the evening ahead of this system pulling away and moving offshore or moving away and out to sea, more so east. So here's a closer look at our futurecast and the high-res futurecast on what to expect. So by Sunday, again, still going to be off of the coast of Florida, by Monday, could be sending a couple of extra showers our way. Starting to see more showers become more widespread as we head into the day on Tuesday, but surely likely is going to be more of a coastal problem than for us as of right now. But if that changes, of course, I'll continue to keep you updated. Don't let your guard down just yet. We still have a couple of days to track this thing. And of course, we're going to nail down those details for you as we close in on Tuesday and Wednesday. We do have weather impact alert days for those 2 days due to possible excessive amounts of rainfall coming in with those outer bands from the system. Again, we'll continue to bring you updates on what you can expect into those 2 days before we start to dry out later into the week. Thanks for joining us.